Has it ever crossed your mind how the Israel-Palestine conflict, one of the world's most enduring disputes, began? Let's journey back to the late 19th and early 20th century, during an era of rising national movements. This was a period when the world was witnessing the birth of new ideologies, including Zionism and Arab nationalism. Zionism, a Jewish nationalist movement, emerged with the aspiration of establishing a Jewish homeland. This was in response to anti-Semitism and persecution experienced by Jews in Europe. The chosen location for this homeland was the historic land of Israel, known at that time as Palestine, a place deeply embedded in Jewish religious and historical narratives. Meanwhile, Arab nationalism was rising concurrently. The Arab inhabitants of Palestine, who had lived there for centuries, sought self-determination and independence from Ottoman rule and later British colonialism. They viewed the influx of Jewish immigrants with apprehension, fearing the loss of their homeland. Now let's talk about two pivotal events that significantly influenced the course of this conflict: the Balfour Declaration of 1917 and the British Mandate of Palestine. The Balfour Declaration was a public statement issued by the British government during World War I, expressing support for the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. This was perceived by Jews worldwide as a significant step towards the realization of the Zionist dream. However, the British also promised the Arab leaders that they would support the creation of independent Arab states in the Middle East, which included Palestine. This conflicting commitment set the stage for a clash of national movements. And then came the British Mandate of Palestine, a period of British administration after World War I, which further complicated matters. It was during this period that tensions between Jews and Arabs escalated, resulting in a series of violent clashes. And so, the seeds of a conflict were sown, a conflict which would only grow more complex with time. As the world emerged from the devastation of World War II, the conflict took a dramatic turn. The horrors of the Holocaust had reverberated far and wide, leaving a deep and lasting impact on the collective global conscience. Amidst the ashes of such widespread destruction, a strong international sentiment began to coalesce in support of a homeland for the Jewish people. This was the backdrop against which the State of Israel was born. In 1948, the United Nations passed a resolution to partition Palestine into Jewish and Arab states, a decision that was met with jubilation by some and despair by others. For the Jewish people, it was a beacon of hope and a promise of sanctuary. But for the Palestinians, it was a grievous loss, marking the beginning of what they refer to as al-Nakba, or the catastrophe. The establishment of Israel was not without conflict. The Arab-Israeli War erupted in 1948, pitting the newly formed state against a coalition of Arab nations who opposed the partition. This was a time of intense turmoil and upheaval, with violence and displacement on an unprecedented scale. When the dust settled, the State of Israel had survived its first major test, but at a significant cost. The war resulted in a refugee crisis, with hundreds of thousands of Palestinians fleeing or being expelled from their homes. These refugees found themselves in a state of limbo, unable to return to their homes, yet also unable to fully integrate into their host countries. With the establishment of Israel, the landscape of the Middle East was forever changed. The post-war period had set the stage for a new chapter in the region's history, one that would be marked by a complex and enduring conflict. The creation of Israel had not solved the Jewish question, rather it had given rise to the Palestinian question, a dilemma that continues to shape the politics and dynamics of the region to this day. The 1960s and 70s were a time of wars and political upheaval in the region. During this period, the Middle East was shaken by several significant events that further complicated the Israel-Palestine conflict. One such event was the Six-Day War in 1967. This short yet intense conflict saw Israel facing off against Egypt, Jordan, and Syria. In less than a week, Israel managed to seize control of several territories, including the West Bank, Gaza Strip, and East Jerusalem. This dramatic shift in territorial control sparked a new wave of tension and conflict in the region. Another key event was the Yom Kippur War of 1973. Egypt and Syria launched a surprise attack on Israel on Yom Kippur, the holiest day in the Jewish calendar. Despite initial losses, Israel managed to push back the attacking forces. However, the war highlighted the region's volatility and the urgent need for a peaceful resolution. Parallel to these wars, the period witnessed the rise of the Palestinian Liberation Organization, or PLO. Established in 1964, the PLO aimed to liberate Palestine through armed struggle. The organization was seen by many Palestinians as their legitimate representative, further fueling the nationalistic sentiments and deepening the divide. These events, coupled with the ongoing political machinations and territorial disputes, heightened the complexity of the Israel-Palestine conflict. The wars led to significant shifts in territorial control, while the rise of the PLO gave the Palestinians a unified, albeit militant, voice. The repercussions of these events can still be felt today, as they shaped the geopolitical landscape of the Middle East and set the stage for the subsequent decades of conflict. The territorial gains by Israel during the wars remain contentious points, while the PLO's legacy continues to influence Palestinian politics. These years were marked by bloodshed and loss, deepening the divide between the two sides. As we move forward, it's important to remember the tumultuous history that has shaped the Israel-Palestine conflict, as understanding the past is crucial in navigating the path towards peace. In the midst of the turmoil, there were glimmers of hope for peace. A series of peace initiatives emerged, each attempting to bring about a resolution to the decades-long conflict. Among these were the Camp David Accords in the late 70s, a breakthrough moment that saw the signing of a peace treaty between Egypt and Israel. Fast forward to the early 90s, we saw another significant stride towards peace with the Oslo Accords. For the first time, Israel and the Palestine Liberation Organization officially recognized each other. They agreed on a plan to grant limited Palestinian self-rule in parts of the West Bank and Gaza Strip. In the new millennium, the Roadmap for Peace was introduced. It was a plan proposed by a quartet of international entities: the United Nations, the European Union, the United States, and Russia. The plan aimed to end the conflict by establishing a secure and peaceful two-state solution. However, these peace processes were not without their challenges and failures. The issues at hand were deeply rooted and complex, including the contentious matters of Israeli settlements in the West Bank, the status of Jerusalem, and the rights of Palestinian refugees. Israeli settlements, viewed as illegal under international law, continued to be a significant roadblock to peace. The status of Jerusalem, a city sacred to three major world religions, remained a contentious point. While the rights of Palestinian refugees displaced from their homes during the conflict became an issue of humanitarian concern. Each peace initiative, while noble in its intent, struggled to fully address and resolve these issues. They were often met with resistance, violence, and even war, as each side clung to their perceived rights and historical grievances. Despite the efforts, peace remained elusive, and the conflict persisted. Yet these attempts serve as reminders of the possibility of peace. They stand as testament to the ongoing struggle for a just resolution, a struggle that continues to this day. Today, the Israel-Palestine conflict continues to be a pressing global issue. It's a complex web of historical grievances, political ideologies, and deeply rooted cultural differences that shape the lives of millions. Recent events have further underscored the volatility of the situation, with flare-ups of violence and political tensions running high. International participants play a significant role in shaping the narrative and outcomes of this conflict. From neighboring countries to global powers, each entity has its interests and perspectives. Some strive for peace and stability, while others may fan the flames of discord for their gain. The United Nations, the European Union, and the United States, to name a few, have all played pivotal roles in mediating dialogues, implementing peace initiatives, and providing humanitarian aid. Yet amid the political chessboard, it's the people living in the region who bear the brunt of this enduring conflict. Their lives are marked by uncertainty, fear, and loss, but also resilience and hope. They are the ones who stand to gain the most from peace and to lose the most from continued conflict. Understanding the current situation requires a deep dive into the historical context. The past is a tapestry of events and decisions that have shaped the present. It's a narrative of displacement and nation-building, of wars and peace treaties, of cultural clashes and shared histories. By grasping the past, we can better understand the present and perhaps influence a better future. International aid organizations and NGOs also play a crucial role, providing relief and support to communities affected by the conflict. Their work often goes beyond immediate necessities, fostering education, empowerment, and dialogue among diverse communities. As we navigate the complexities of this conflict, it's crucial to remember the human element. Behind every headline, every statistic, there's a person, a family, a community. Their stories are the heartbeat of this conflict, and their voices matter. As we look towards the future, the hope for a peaceful resolution remains, a hope that hinges on understanding, dialogue, and mutual respect.